What up, is Marcus with Dynasty Fantasy. We have 4 players that I'm going to have that you should start looking and buying right now. I see their situations as either be changing or changing in the good here for the off season here. Of course, you're having to do some risk. You're going to have to do some banking on maybe that these teams won't draft the position that we're going to be talking about. So we're going to just start off right off the bat. By the way, we have a DeAndre Swift signed jersey. We're going to give that away at 2,000 subscribers. The first one is a 24-year-old running back. It is JK Dobbins. Now, JK Dobbins was an extremely talented running back out of Ohio State. One of my favorite running backs in that draft class, right behind Jonathan Taylor in that draft class, and the aforementioned DeAndre Swift. In fact, I see him right around that DeAndre Swift category. But the problem was JK had that major knee injury and the knee cleanup. But he was running back 5, 17, 33, and 22 the last 4 weeks. He did come out and call out the coaching staff there against Cincinnati here in the playoffs. But his snap percentages were 43, 38, 42, and 50. His snap percentages weren't amazing, and I think that into the 2023 season, you're going to see that creep more into that 65%. And if you can get a running back that is running back 2 with some running back 1 weeks in there, with running back snap percentage of 50 to 65%, that's going to be great. I mean, J.K. Dobbins is an excellent pass catcher. We'll see if they fire their offensive coordinator, Greg Roman, to maybe have a little bit of a different style of offense. And when somebody goes low snap percentage, high running back ranking, that means they have to have a lot of touchdowns. And he only had 1 in those 4 weeks. He's just an extremely good runner and an efficient runner. He did the same in Ohio State as well. So J.K. Dobbins is my favorite running back to buy low right now. He was one of my biggest sells last year because I thought that this 2022 season was going to be a little bit of a mess with the recovery of the knee injury when we found out, okay, it's going to be multiple ligament. Think Javonte Williams. Javonte Williams the value might go down before it goes up depending on how his knee recovery goes. Same with Cam Akers. Like you have to, unfortunately, it's hard when you're selling and it's already on a free fall with some of these injuries. It's hard to be like, oh, well, in 12 months I can potentially buy back. Well, maybe you can't. Maybe that team is going to hold them for 12, 24 months and you're like, well, I guess I can't buy back. So it is always a risk buying and selling, but J.K. Dobbins is on the upswing here. He is on the buy, and I could see him having a top 20 year pretty much automatically unless he either has another injury or they go and draft another running back, which I just don't see that happening for Baltimore. The next player is going to be a player that I think is going to benefit tremendously in the offseason here. It is Marquise Brown. He is 25 years young. He just feels like he's been in the league a lot longer. I think DeAndre Hopkins will not be an Arizona Cardinal. This is where I'm putting money where my mouth is here. And so Marquise Brown, he started off the year hot. I mean, you look at 25, 43, 12, 9, 9, 33. I think you are getting a wide receiver too easily if he is the main target there. He ended the year horrible, and that's what you can kind of almost project to the owner that has him. Say, hey, he didn't have a really good year. He was in the 50s and the 60s consistently week by week when DeAndre Hopkins was there, and I know that Kyler Murray was injured as well. But you look at even his draft, or his targets he had, 8, 8, 6, 4, 4. It's like he's having targets. I think there was too many mouths to feed in a low-volume passing offense, especially when Kyler was hurt. You saw the targets go down. And so I think that Marquise Brown is going to be a big step forward. In fact, you looked at his consistency in the beginning of the year. And I mean, you look at, he was a wide receiver 2 with 3 wide receiver 1 weeks out of his first 6. He was a very, very good, high-targeted, high-reception type of player that you easily wanted in fantasy football. It just didn't seem to mature enough after the Hopkins coming in and Kyler Murray getting hurt. Just a lot of things fell apart for him. And so I see a big step forward for Marquise Brown in 2023. Even if Kyler doesn't come back healthy right off the bat, I still think that he's going to be the main show in town. Now, if DeAndre Hopkins somehow continues to be there, that's going to be a big hurt. Now, the next 2 are going to be quarterbacks, and then we're going to talk about kind of a public service announcement for fantasy, things that you need to look at potentially buying as well when it comes to Dynasty Fantasy Football. It's 2 quarterbacks. One is Danny Dimes. Daniel Jones was finished 9th. And I think that Brian Dable, our previous kind of coach of Josh Allen, is using the same philosophy, but for Danny Dimes. Yes, he didn't have the wide receivers. He just didn't. You look at his passing statistics, 3,200 yards, 15 touchdowns, 5 picks. You go, how in the world did he finish 9th? It was all the rushing. He continued to do that in the playoffs. just abusing the Minnesota Vikings. But he had 120 rushing attempts, a ton of rushing attempts, over 700 yards, 7 touchdowns on the ground, and I think you're going to continue to see this type of trend. Now, I could totally be wrong, but I think this is the trend that you're going to see with a Brian Daboll offense. He knows, hey, Josh Allen, Daniel Jones is a very athletic, very fast type of quarterback. I almost said wide receiver. Quarterback, besides when he's open and running down the field and he trips on himself, Daniel Jones can have some pretty good speed here. And so it wouldn't shock me if his passing numbers, even if he goes 3,400 yards and 22 touchdowns, which is not a crazy jump if he finds himself with a wide receiver, a good, solid wide receiver, maybe Wan'Dale back, and he goes 100 rushes for 550 yards and 6 touchdowns or 5 touchdowns or something along those lines. That would not shock me, and him being another top 10 or low-end QB1, like that is something definitely in the realm of possibilities. I think Daniel Jones is being undervalued just because of the team and the weapons around him. Another quarterback that we're going to be talking about is Jared Goff. Jared Goff is just somebody that everyone seems to hate. But we're going to go through some statistics here that might shock you, and they definitely shocked me. So buckle in and hold on to your browsers here. First of all, he was 10th. He had over 4,400 yards, 4,438, 29 touchdowns, 7 picks. He's going to have Jameson Williams back for a potential full season here for Jameson Williams, which is going to be huge. He has Amon-Ra St. Brown, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And if you look at this is the shocking stat. If you look at when Jared Goff has played 15 games or more, he's had some injuries, 15 games or more. These are his finishes: 12, 6, 13, 20, 10. I mean, 80% chance that of his previous experience that he's basically a quarterback one. I mean, he had a QB 13 in there. So he's 80% of his seasons have been QB 13 or better when he's had played 15 games or more. He's had 2 seasons where he didn't. And so he's been a solid quarterback. And so that's something that we have to just understand, that Jared Goff is this Kirk Cousin realm, but you are not going to be able to buy Kirk Cousins for the same price, or Jared Goff for the same price as Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is going to cost a lot more. Heck, depending on where Derek Carr goes, Derek Carr might cost a lot more. And so Jared Goff is my cheap version to get you through a couple of seasons here, because I don't think Detroit's going to draft a quarterback. I think they're going to keep building on that defense. They have a ton of weapons around. I think they can win with Jared Goff, and they're going to take a big step forward this next season in 2023 is my prediction. He still has DeAndre Swift. And Jamal Williams had 1 million touchdowns. What do you have, like 17 or something like that? That's not going to happen again this next season. Well, we said that about Austin Eckler. He went from 20 to 19. So maybe Jamal, if he comes back, maybe he goes from 17 to 16. Whatever. We get it. And I have a public service announcement. It is about running backs. We have so many running back free agents, and we have so many running backs that are getting older and moving positions and stuff. But the big ones are the free agents. And so if you're looking at teams, gosh, even like the David Montgomerys, there's a plethora. Josh Jacobs, you're looking at a lot of different teams that have running backs that their contracts are up. This is the time to start gambling. You get a little gamble with you. Are you going to gamble for Khalil Herbert? Are you going to gamble for are you going to gamble for, why can't I think, Zamir White? I couldn't think of his name. Do you think Leonard Fournette is gone, and do you think Rashad White? This is the running back carousel. Alexander Mattison, likely going to leave the Vikings. Tony Pollard, does he leave Dallas? There's a lot of gambling going on. And so the public service announcement is, look at who the free agents are. Pollard, Montgomery, Jacobs. There's a plethora of running backs. There's a whole list of them. And look at the backups if the starter is leaving. And trying to start doing some gambling of maybe, I'm not a huge Zamir White fan. I think he's a good running back. But gosh, if Jacobs leaves, Zamir White is RB1 until they draft somebody. Even if they draft somebody, who guarantees that person is either going to take the starting job right off the bat? You now have an important handcuff to a rookie running back, unless they go after Alexander Mattison and Tony Pollard, which that doesn't really make sense even for that team. So you have to start kind of doing these gambles. Or Montgomery, likely going to leave. Khalil Herbert's value is going to shoot up. It hasn't necessarily shot up quite yet, but it will when David Montgomery officially leaves. And if Khalil Herbert is RB1 on the starting roster, you have to make the gambles. This is the time to do it. All right? So this is Marcus Dynasty Football Dads. Peace out. We'll see you guys again soon.